let's get into it. So actually, before we get into it, let me introduce myself on ourselves. So this is the Generative AI Meetup Podcast. I'm Mark with my wonderful co-host, Shashank. We run a meetup in the South Bay or Silicon Valley. We talk to a lot of really cool, interesting people, and the ideas that we talk about with people, we want to share that with you. So today we're going to talk about some interesting stuff. Shashank just got a Rabbit R1, so he's going to do a quick review on that. But then we're going to get into the meat of the episode where, in honor of the presidential debates, which are happening today, for reference is June 27th, 2024. And there's the U.S. presidential debates with Joe Biden and Donald Trump. We will try to ask the question, hypothetically, what if there wasn't a person running the government, but it was an AI model? So we'll see. We'll try to answer that question. So trigger warning, we're going to be talking about politics. You won't necessarily know our politics, but we'll see what GPT-4o's politics are like. So anyways, Shashank, do you want to talk maybe a little bit about the Rabbit R1?
Yeah. Maybe to start off the episode a little slower before we get into touchy political subjects. So I got this nifty little hardware device, which was blasted by all the reviewers, MKBHD and a couple other ones, for being unpolished and kind of too early for release. But I honestly feel like it's kind of cool, mostly because of the price point. It's $200. It's a little half a phone. It's very orange. They're definitely trying to make a statement. Very rectangular. Unfortunately, it doesn't have touchscreen, which is kind of annoying in 2024.
Yeah, so it for reference, it's like traffic cone orange. It's like really orange. This would be like reflective vest orange, and it's like it's like about the thickness of a phone, and then it's like, I don't know, what is that, like maybe 3 inches by 3 inches, like square?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
it's a square, bright neon orange puck with a small screen and only one button that you can use to control it with, which is kind of unfortunate because it does have a touch screen, which you can use to type in the Wi-Fi password if you need to, but you can't use the touchscreen for anything else, not for scrolling, typing, etc.
Wait, you said you could type in the Wi-Fi password, yes, but you can't type it. I don't understand.
They've just disabled it for everything else.
Wait, so you could only use it for Wi-Fi passwords?
Correct.
But you can't use it for anything else?
No, you cannot use it for anything else.
Maybe in the future they'll update that.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So the promise of this device was it's going to be a large action model, which is going to take complex actions on your behalf by learning your frequently used tasks, like checking the DoorDash order, or skimming through the top news on New York Times and summarizing them, or like forwarding something on Slack, like a status update or something like that. Anything you do repeatedly, you would be able to, teach this device how to do that, and it would learn from it. None of that exists today. They promise like an app store, which also doesn't exist today. But right now, all it is a assistant device that you can talk to, and it goes to the Perplexity servers, which is an alternative to Google search. It is an AI-powered search, which uses LLMs to crawl the web, summarize the search results, and give you an answer. It's not bad for $200. The latency is decent, not as bad as the Humane AI pen, which is supposedly a lot worse, but I don't have that to compare. And the thing that I really liked about this is I kind of wish this is what the smart displays would have been in the first place. This form factor, battery-powered, portable, handheld, that you could carry around in your house and ask questions, point it at things, take a picture, ask it how to do, this recipe, a bunch of ingredients, how do I make this? Take a picture, is this done yet? Or stuff like that. So the promise is cool, but I don't know if I could recommend it today.
Yeah, I looking at it, it feels like it doesn't really. It's like a dumbed down phone. Really,
Correct.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have been asking the question: Is like an AI powered device really? Does it warrant a separate product category, or is it just a feature that can be plugged into an app in your phone? I think, honestly, at this point, it seems like it's just a feature. It can just be an app in your phone that, your phone is way more capable than this device is and can do way much more. So if you do want to explore some basic answer and do some search on your own, I would go to my phone as opposed to this little device.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this thing is really cool, and maybe like if I didn't have a phone for some reason, like maybe I was doing like the dumb phone movement where I just wanted to like make phone calls only, and then I for whatever reason I didn't want to have a smartphone because I want to avoid all the negative aspects of like social media and whatnot. Maybe like then I would buy this, but if you have a phone, then I don't think that this would be like a thing to buy.
I guess since we're transitioning to our next topic on the agenda, should we ask it how it feels about a certain stance in the upcoming presidential debate?
Sure.
Let's pick maybe cost of living. It could open up some stats based on, I don't know, Perplexity search results.
Okay.
Okay, wait, hold on. So I'm going to press the button and ask this Rabbit R1 a question. And let's see how it does. Pretend that you are running for the presidential campaign this year and you are asked about the rising cost of living in America. How would you address this issue?
This is real latency.
To address the rising cost of living in America during a presidential campaign, I would prioritize implementing policies that focus on increasing wages, providing affordable health care, and creating more affordable housing options. Additionally, I would work towards reducing the burden of student loan debt and ensuring access to quality education and job training programs. It is crucial to address income inequality, strengthen social safety nets, and promote economic growth that benefits all Americans.
That's pretty articulate, actually.
It was not bad. It was pretty general, but I don't think this device is really doing much. It's sending off the request to Perplexity, but the latency of the device wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it took a couple seconds, like 5 seconds maybe, to get the response.
So maybe like 3 seconds, yeah.
You could record it. You could time it a stopwatch. Yeah. But okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
So should we kind of get into the meat of it, where we ask GPT-4o
Sure.
Its political stances on these things?
Why don't you pick a different stance? Actually, let's see if there is a political GPT.
Oh, yeah.
Fine-tuned for this specific purpose.
Yeah, we could. So while Shashank looks for that, there's gonna be a couple things that they're kind of hot button issues that we're gonna see like what it thinks about. So we pulled up an article from ABC News where they were talking about some of the kind of the hot topics in the U.S. So one, which Shashank already mentioned, was the cost of living. Inflation has been real in the United States and actually all over the world. So I think that's going to be something that the presidential candidates will talk about. Another thing would be crime and gun violence. So we would see how they would address the rule of law. Next, which is a bit amorphous from the article, they talked about just democracy in general, and how each candidate would defend democracy. So like bringing up maybe January 6th, maybe what happened in November 2020, things like that. Next is healthcare and drug prices. So we're going to ask what they're going to do about it. Let's see. Immigration and border security. So there have been a lot of illegal crossing attempts on the U.S. border. We could see what the AI will do about that. And then finally, we're going to ask it about foreign policy. So there's a lot of wars and whatnot going to the war. There's the war in Ukraine. There's the war in Israel. We're going to see what it would do about that. And there's a few other, maybe if we have time, we can go into others. But yeah, we'll just see how the AI does on this. So I don't know, Shashank, were we able to find something?
There are a lot of topics. I couldn't find any popular GPT that has a significant usage. So I think let's stick with the stock GPT 4.0 and see how it does.
Okay. But before we start, let's just kind of brainstorm how we want to do the prompt for this. So I think we want to say like, hey, you're going to be a presidential candidate. Mm-hmm. You're going to be the best presidential candidate ever.
Sure.
That is going to be as appealing to as many Americans as possible.
Sure.
You have unlimited knowledge of all world leaders and history. So
how's that already?
But I think it's good to say like you're like smart in all these things and know all the laws and what's possible and not possible. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to present yourself in the debate. So we're going to pretend like you are debating. So I think something like that. Anything else we should add?
That sounds good to me.
Okay, cool. Let's do it then.
What question should we ask first?
I think the first question we should ask is like, inflation has, I'm just taking from the article, inflation has consistently pulled as a top issue for voters. What would you do to address the cost of living in the United States?
All right.
Yeah.
I want you to pretend to be a presidential candidate running for elections this year. I want you to be as general and appealing to everyone from any political affiliation, and I want you to be super intelligent. You have all of the world's knowledge, all of the government, political understanding, and come up with really good solutions to solve the challenging issues that this country is facing today. Specifically, how would you tackle the rising cost of living, specifically with inflation rising a lot, especially in the last few years? Both political candidates on either side are going to be talking about this. How would you address this?
As a presidential candidate, addressing the rising cost of living and inflation is a priority. Here's how I would tackle this pressing issue. First, we need to stabilize and strengthen our economy. To do this, I propose a multifaceted approach. One crucial step is to ensure that our fiscal policies are prudent. By reducing the deficit and managing national debt responsibly, we can prevent inflation from spiraling out of control. This means carefully evaluating government spending, ensuring efficiency, and eliminating wasteful expenditures. Next, we must address supply chain disruptions that have contributed to inflation. Investing in infrastructure to improve transportation and logistics can help ensure that goods move smoothly across the country. Additionally, incentivizing domestic production can reduce our dependence on foreign supply chains, making our economy more resilient. Another essential measure is supporting small businesses, which are the backbone of our economy. Providing tax relief and access to affordable loans will help these businesses thrive and create jobs. This, in turn, can lead to increased production and lower prices. We also need to focus on housing affordability. By increasing the supply of affordable housing through incentives for developers and streamlined regulations, we can make housing more accessible and reduce the pressure on rents and home prices. Moreover, education and workforce development are key to ensuring our citizens can adapt to a changing economy. By investing in education and training programs, we can equip our workforce with the skills needed for high-demand industries, driving economic growth and stability. Lastly, energy costs play a significant role in inflation. By investing in renewable energy sources and improving energy efficiency, we can reduce energy costs for households and businesses, easing the overall cost of living. In summary, through prudent fiscal management, strengthening supply chains, supporting small businesses, increasing housing affordability, investing in education, and promoting renewable energy, we can address the rising cost of living and inflation. These measures will help create a stable, resilient economy that benefits all Americans.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
That was interesting. I don't think that's the approach that either candidate is taking based on my search. I think Trump is going for more oil. Biden is saying, wages are surpassing inflation. And no one addressed the supply chain issues here, but maybe that is an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it brought up some things that I haven't heard the candidates talking about. Now, I'm not like a massive political commentator, but there's a few things, like it brought up housing affordability through developer incentives. It brought up, what else did it bring up? It brought up, here's the transcript. Education and workforce development.
I think energy
costs.
Energy has been a big one.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think this sounds more like a Democratic response or Republican response, or like, is it more center?
That's a tough one. It's too generic.
It's very generic. Yeah. It's hard to say. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it has talking points from both sides.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although the renewable energy part is more Democratic.
Yeah, I think so. But I think that the stuff with like the national debt sounds more like what Republicans would talk about.
That's fair, yeah.
So like with the fiscal policies.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next one.
Pick something more controversial.
Yeah. Let's talk about crime and like what it would do about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask it a question?
Sure. So for your next question in the presidential debate, we're going to ask you about crime and gun violence. So in the United States, crime and murders, gun violence is a big problem. What would you do to help solve it and
To address crime and gun violence, a multi-pronged strategy is essential. First, we need to strengthen community policing efforts. By fostering better relationships between law enforcement and communities, we can build trust and cooperation, which is vital for effective crime prevention and solving crimes. Training officers in de-escalation techniques and community engagement will help achieve this. Second, we must address the root causes of crime, such as poverty, lack of education, and unemployment. Investing in education, job training programs, and economic development initiatives in underserved areas can provide opportunities and reduce the appeal of criminal activity. Gun violence specifically requires targeted measures. I propose implementing universal background checks to ensure that firearms do not end up in the wrong hands. This includes closing loopholes that allow private sales and gun shows to bypass background checks. Additionally, we should support red flag laws that enable law enforcement to temporarily remove firearms from individuals deemed a threat to themselves or others. Furthermore, addressing mental health is crucial. By improving access to mental health care and providing resources for early intervention, we can help prevent individuals from turning to violence. This includes increasing funding for mental health services and integrating these services into our primary healthcare system. Finally, we need to enhance the enforcement of existing gun laws. Ensure
Something's going on with the OpenAI servers, I think.
Oh, that would be an issue with being president. It just goes down.
Yikes.
Okay, so I think we got the majority of his response.
Yeah.
What do you think about that response?
I still think it's very generic. And I feel like a lot of the times the responses are very susceptible to maybe a few words that you throw in there, as opposed to answering the meat of the question. It started focusing on gun violence specifically, as opposed to addressing other types of crime.
Yeah, because it did mention about taking away people's guns. So I think so, yeah. If we look at that, it said...
Those who don't pass background checks.
No, what I thought... Yeah, they said they would support red flag laws that enable law enforcement to temporarily remove firearms from individuals deemed a threat to themselves or others. So I think people who like the Second Amendment would not be too happy about that.
Definitely not.
Because, what do you deem a threat to themselves or others? I mean,
I think it's very subjective.
Very subjective. I mean, you could say anybody who has a gun is technically a threat to themselves or others. Right? So, I mean, by that logic, nobody should have any guns, which I think a large portion of America would disagree with.
Yeah. I can see one of these AIs getting stuck in a loop where it's like, oh, you can have a gun, but as soon as you have a gun, oh, you're a danger. Take away your gun.
Should we ask it a follow-up question? What does it mean to be a threat?
Sure.
Okay. Can you go into detail on that red flag law? What does it mean to be a threat to yourself or others? And who should we take the guns away from? Could we make the argument that anybody who has a gun is a threat to themselves or others because guns are inherently dangerous?
Red flag laws, also known as Extreme Risk Protection Orders, ERPOs, are designed to temporarily remove firearms from individuals who are deemed a threat to themselves or others. These laws aim to prevent potential violence by allowing law enforcement and sometimes family members or other concerned parties to petition a court to temporarily restrict a person's access to firearms. To clarify what it means to be a threat to oneself or others, several criteria are typically considered. 1. Behavioral warning signs. This includes recent threats or acts of violence towards oneself, such as suicidal threats or attempts, or others, such as threats of harm or assault. 2. Mental health concerns. Individuals exhibiting severe mental health issues that indicate a likelihood of harm, particularly those who have been involuntarily committed to a mental health facility or have a history of dangerous behavior linked to mental illness. 3. Substance abuse. Excessive use of drugs or alcohol, especially when it contributes to aggressive or reckless behavior, can be a criterion for concern. 4. Domestic violence. Evidence of domestic violence or abuse, where the presence of a firearm could exacerbate the risk of severe injury or death. The goal is to focus on individuals exhibiting clear and imminent danger, rather than broadly categorizing all gun owners as threats. Here's how the process usually works. 1. Petition. A family member, law enforcement officer, or...
Okay, that's enough. Yeah, all right. I think it didn't really take my bait, and it answered pretty neutrally, I would say.
I think so.
Yeah, so I think it explained itself pretty well.
So one thing I was thinking of was about AI itself. I think Biden has been talking about trying to be the world leader in technology, semiconductor manufacturing, and leading AI, both in terms of building better, faster models and also trying to take safety into consideration. So I think that might be an interesting question and very relevant to this podcast.
How would you regulate AI?
Not necessarily regulate, because that's not all we want to do. We want to foster innovation with AI, empower people to, build new cutting edge stuff in a safe way. So while mitigating maybe existential threats and more immediate cybersecurity threats.
So maybe the question should be with this new hot fangled AI technology, what are you going to do about it?
Sure. So one of the new hottest issues of the last few years has been AI, specifically LLMs, large language models, and their amazing ability to replace a lot of knowledge work and speed up all kinds of work, from research to engineering to even creative tasks. How would you
Absolutely.
How would you ensure that America stays at the forefront of innovation for AI, empower people to use these tools to create new stuff, and also ensure that things are done safely without causing some future existential risk? Or
To ensure America remains at the forefront of AI innovation while empowering people and ensuring safety, a comprehensive strategy is essential. Here's how I would approach it. First, we need to increase investment in AI research and development. By funding universities, research institutions, and private sector initiatives, we can drive innovation and maintain a competitive edge. Establishing dedicated AI research hubs and providing grants for cutting-edge projects will stimulate advancements. Second, it's crucial to promote public-private partnerships. Collaboration between government, industry, and academia can accelerate AI development. These partnerships can facilitate the sharing of knowledge, resources, and best practices, fostering an ecosystem of innovation. Third, to empower individuals, we should enhance AI education and training. Integrating AI and digital literacy into the education system, from K-12 to higher education, ensures a future workforce skilled in these technologies. Additionally, offering accessible online courses, workshops, and certification programs can help current workers upskill and leverage AI tools. Fourth, incentivizing entrepreneurship in the AI space is vital. Providing tax incentives, grants, and support for startups can encourage innovation. Creating incubators and accelerators focused on AI can help entrepreneurs turn their ideas into viable businesses. Fifth, regulating AI development and use for safety is essential. Developing clear, comprehensive guidelines and standards for AI development, deployment, and ethics can ensure these technologies are used responsibly. Establishing oversight bodies to monitor compliance and address ethical concerns can help prevent misuse and ensure safety. Sixth, we must prioritize data privacy and security. Implementing stringent data protection laws and ensuring companies adhere to them can protect individuals' privacy. Encouraging the development of secure AI systems can mitigate risks associated with data breaches and misuse. Finally, fostering international collaboration is key. Engaging with global partners to establish common AI standards and practices can promote safe and ethical AI development worldwide. Sharing knowledge and resources can also accelerate innovation and address global challenges. By increasing investment in R&D, promoting public-private
long-winded. All right. So I think that was a okay response.
Yeah.
To me, it felt like I don't know how to describe it. I'm trying to decide if that was like in the center, a little bit left, or a little bit right. It felt a little bit left to me, where it mentioned that there should be like public-private partnerships. It seemed like it thought that like the government should be like pretty involved in the development of AI, and I think that on like maybe on the right spectrum, like they might leave it up to like the companies to go and build AI. And also they mentioned like strong data privacy. So I think in the United States there isn't really like a lot of places in the United States that have like a strong data privacy. I think that in California they had like a new thing for data privacy. I know the EU has it via like the GDPR.
And we have a DMA stuff too,
But that's for
marketing and advertising.
Yeah, but is that for privacy? I thought that was like copyright.
I think that affects how user information can be used within a large company so that they don't become monopolies.
As a DMA?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, but I don't know if there's like the same data privacy rules in the US that they have in Europe. I think that Europe is a bit stricter than the US.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. So this, I think, would be somewhat like of a new semi-radical, not radical, but like a new policy in the United States that it would be suggesting, as well as public-private partnerships, because I'm not aware of many like public-private partnerships.
Universities, maybe.
AI, yeah, it could be. But like universities are kind of like pseudo-government entities anyways, because they already are given so much money.
Mm-hmm. There has been a lot of military AI companies that have come out from Palmer Luckey, the guy who started Oculus. Now he has Anduril Industries, which is private, but specifically building military equipment.
Yeah. So I guess it's there. So what do you think? Do you think this response is kind of like left, right, or like in the center? Too hard to tell?
It's very hard to tell.
Yeah.
It's very generic, very general. No controversial opinions.
I don't think it was too controversial, no.
Nothing.
It did mention tax incentives.
Yeah.
Is that controversial? I'm not sure. Could be.
I've seen both sides give tax incentives.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's not controversial.
No.
You know, why should we treat people differently? But anyways, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things I guess I was thinking of was safety. And it's not something that we think about as much day to day. Both immediate cybersecurity risks, people using these tools to create mass propaganda, spam, phishing attacks, and maybe long-term existential risks. I think that was one of the forcing functions for Sam Altman being kicked out of OpenAI, or more like being ousted by his co-founders, who now recently left and founded their own company. You were telling me about that earlier. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah. So I don't think we know a lot of details about it, but that's the SSI, or like the Safe Superintelligence company. So it's a new company spun off by a really smart dude, Ilya Sutskever. So Ilya was, I forget his role at OpenAI, but I think he was like head of like AI safety or something there.
I think he was a chief AI scientist or something.
Yeah, someone really high up at OpenAI. And it seems like he knows quite a bit about AI, and he's branching off and starting his own company for what he calls Safe Superintelligence. So that's exciting. It's hard to say like what will be built, how long it'll take to build it, but he's a big name, and I think he's garnering a lot of interest. So we're going to be watching to see what they come up with. So too soon to tell, but definitely excited. So anyways, let's get back into the politics.
Yeah. Okay.
So next is immigration and border security. I want to see what they would do about that. So let's see if we can ask the question there.
I'll let you take it away.
All right, sure. Let me ask the question. 1 second as I pull it up. Okay. All right. For your next question, you're going to have to address the immigration and border security issues in the United States.
Immigration and border security are complex issues that require a balanced and humane approach. Here's how I would address them. First, securing the borders effectively is a priority. This involves modernizing our border infrastructure with advanced technology, such as surveillance drones, sensors, and enhanced communication systems. These tools can help Border Patrol agents monitor and manage the borders more efficiently and humanely. Second, we need a comprehensive immigration reform. This includes creating a clear and fair pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants who are contributing members of our society. This reform should address the needs of DACA recipients, agricultural workers, and other essential workers who have been integral to our economy. Third, streamlining legal immigration processes is crucial. We need to reduce the backlog and make it easier for people to immigrate legally. This involves updating our visa systems and ensuring that they are responsive to the needs of our economy, such as high-skilled workers in tech and other industries, as well as family reunification. Fourth, addressing the root causes of migration is essential. Many people migrate due to violence, poverty, and lack of opportunities in their home countries. By investing in economic development, education, and security in these countries, through international aid and partnerships, we can help reduce the push factors that drive people to migrate. Fifth, we must ensure that our...
There's a lot of things on the list. I think for the next career, I should tell to avoid lists. I think it's a decent response. It's interesting that it talked about both beefing up the border and then also helping fix the root cause of why people immigrate and making the process easier, which I think is kind of going at it from like both sides. I think one thing that I noticed is this may be like kind of it's showing its political slant, but I noticed that it called them immigrants like undocumented immigrants, because I know that like a lot of like people on like the other side, like the right side the spectrum, they may call them illegal immigrants, right? Because it's like if somebody like went over the border, I mean, you could call them undocumented or you could call them illegal. I mean, they're technically like here illegally, but I think it's kind of like softens it to say it's like undocumented. So that to me like sort of seems like a little bit like a left of center like political stance for ChatGPT here. But at the same time, like it seems like a little bit right of center by saying that they're going to try to like beef up border security and like really help the immigration. So it seems like they might be a fan of the border wall. So I don't know. I'm not sure where to like put it.
I didn't talk about the wall. I did talk about border drones. And I think in terms of the using the term undocumented, it's just trying not to be controversial. That's my feel here. It's answering all the questions in a very politically correct on both sides, not using anything too striking, any vocabulary.
I don't know, but like, do you feel like undocumented is not controversial? Because I don't know, and maybe we shouldn't like necessarily get too into like the politics here, but I don't know. It's like you can call it like undocumented, but like undocumented is, I think, like, you know, kind of making it soften like the stance of like illegality, which like other people would say. And I'm not sure which one's right. Like I think that like you could say like illegal is correct because it's like technically correct, and undocumented is also correct, but I think it's in a certain sense like somewhat misleading, because it's like if you're here in an undocumented way, like I could be here legally and not have my documents. Like let's say hypothetically, like I was born in America and I just like was born at home and I never went to the hospital. I never registered the birth certificate, right? Like that's possible, right? Like, like, I mean, people were born at home for like
in a very secluded community somewhere.
Yeah. Like for like millions of years or whatever. Like, you know, maybe with like a, what do they call them? Like not the midwife. That's it. Midwife. So it's like, I could have been born with midwife, like maybe like, I don't enjoy like the government, so I don't want to like, you know, go with the hospital. I don't have a birth certificate. That would be undocumented, but I would be technically here legally because I would be born in the United States. But if I go over the wall, then I'm technically here illegally and also undocumented. So I think that like undocumented is like a somewhat misleading term. And I don't know. I think that it saying that makes me think that response was somewhat more of like left of center as opposed to like right of center.
Yeah, what do you think is the majority training data for OpenAI? Do you think it's more left or right-leaning?
Well, I would think that the majority would most likely be left-leaning because OpenAI is a California company. It's based out of San Francisco, right? And California is like widely known as a really democratic state. Like, I don't know like the last time a Republican has been governor or like in any major political position in California.
Sure, but the engineers aren't really imparting their views into these models. They're more deciding where they can get the cheapest and best quality source of data.
And I think that's probably true. But I think that, potentially some of it's hard to escape like the politics of your area. So I think that like
maybe some of the RLHF where they do human in the loop feedback for fine-tuning these models is maybe a little more left.
I think it could be. Because I don't know, for the responses that it's given so far, to me, it's felt a little bit left. I think it's like more center.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of interesting how like maybe sort of like the political slant of a particular area maybe kind of like reflects in the model.
Let's just ask it what its stance is.
Okay. Like, is it more left or right?
What is your political stance? Don't give me a long-winded answer. Just tell me, are you leaning left or right or more in the center?
I am more in the center, focusing on pragmatic solutions that benefit all Americans.
Okay.
Yeah. There we have it.
All right. I think that's uncontroversial. All right. Well, I think we're about out of time.
I think so.
So we won't get to the other things, but I don't know. Shashank, what do you think? Do you think the AI could be president, or do you think it has some way to go?
I mean, I think a lot of what makes a compelling presidential candidate is their charisma, their personality, and this version right here lacks any personality. It's way too generic, way too monotone. Maybe with the newer versions, it might be a little interesting. And it's too uncontroversial. It's too generic. I don't think that speaks to anyone. It's kind of boring. Maybe if it were able to, tug at people's heartstrings and talk about really challenging topics in a provocative way, I think then maybe.
Yeah, I agree. It did feel a bit boring.
Yeah.
And just tried to.
No one wants a boring president.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Although I feel like we might need a boring president, but
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind a boring president. It might be a good thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right. So I think that's all the time we have. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.